One of the most famous Marvel characters finally has his own show, with his own name in the title. The new MCU Phase 4 is full of new shows and movies in order to further expand the already rich Marvel Universe. Today we will be talking about the origins of the God of Mischief himself, Loki. We divided the video into two parts as, in fact, there are two distinctive origins to take into consideration for the character. The first one is from the Norse mythology, and the other is from the origins of the comics. In this new SV series, True Origins, we will be exploring where the inspiration of some of the most famous movies came from. But first, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and ring the bell. Loki is a god in Norse mythology, who is often simply described as the trickster god for his love of playing pranks to others alike. In some sources, he is the son of the giant Barbati and Loki, and the brother of Helblindi and Gleister. While treated as a small member of the gods, Loki occupies a highly uncertain and ultimately unique position among the gods, giants, and other kinds of spiritual beings that populate the pre-Christian Norse religion. However, in other sources, Loki is the sworn brother of Odin, and often the one to dig the other gods out of inconveniently deep holes. His name nonetheless has many negative connotations due to his deceitful nature and especially the hand he had in the death of the god Balder, thus setting in motion the coming of the Ragnarok. Balder was one of the sons of the chief god Odin, and was seen as beautiful and just, taking his place as the favorite of the gods. At a certain time, all the gods were at a party, and knowing that Balder was pretty much immune to any kind of harm, they threw at him everything they could think of. But Balder had a blind brother named Hod that, deceived by the evil Loki, killed Balder by hurtling mistletoe, the only thing that could hurt him. For those who didn't watch Thor Ragnarok, the term Ragnarok essentially means the final destiny of the gods, in which the world is completely destroyed. It's a series of events, including a great battle, foretold to lead to the death of a great number of figures like Odin, Thor, Heimdall, and Loki, natural disasters, and the submersion of the world in water. After these events, the world will resurface anew and fertile, the surviving and returning gods will meet, and the world will be repopulated by two human survivors. In the MCU version of the tale, it was Asgard who was completely destroyed, also with the influence of Loki by unleashing the fire demon Surtur. Loki is one of only 3 gods who headlines in more than one myth in Viking Age belief, with the other 2 being Odin and Thor. With that being said, Loki takes up a unique spot in the Norse pantheon. There are various sources of information about Loki and his Norse origins, but the richest of them all can be extracted from Snorri Sturluson's Prose Edda. Loki also pops up in some very early skaldic poems of the Viking Age, composed between the late 9th and early 11th centuries. However, he is loud in his absence from arguably some of the oldest poems like the Fabrud Dismal and the Grim Nisbel. Coupled with this, Loki's similarly surprising non-existence in Saxo Grammaticus Gesta Danorum from the early 13th century, a Danish work which otherwise extensively discusses Norse mythology, might indicate that Loki was more of a regional feature rather than being omnipresent throughout the Germanic world. Indeed, sources of Loki are limited to the northern Germanic regions, and Loki himself has no direct parallel in broader Germanic mythology. He is married to Sigyn, and they have a son named Narfi. Loki also generated 3 monstrosities with Angerboda, who is a Jotun or giant and a goddess of fear. Together they created Jormungand, the terrible serpent of Midgard, the wolf Fenrir,
This stupid dog won't die!
and Hela, the goddess of the underworld. In the MCU, Hela can be seen as the older sister to Thor and Loki, and Fenrir was resurrected by her with the eternal flame, and put at her service during her rule over Asgard. Loki, known to be a shapeshifter, had some unconventional transformations, and this one sure takes it into the top. According to some texts, Loki once transfigured himself into a mare and was impregnated by the stallion Svaldifari and gave birth to the 8-legged horse Sleipnir. Loki is referred to as the father of Vali in Prose Edda, though this source also refers to Odin as the father of Vali twice, and Vali is mentioned as a son of Loki only once. Loki appears in a lot of ancient tales, and a few of them get pretty detailed. One of them is known as the kidnapping of Idun, and tells the story of when Loki, in order to save his own life, had to surrender to the giant Thiazi by delivering the goddess, keeper of apples and granter of eternal youthfulness, Idun. But the trickster god later finds himself in the awkward position of having the other gods threaten him with death unless he rescues Idun back. He agrees to this request for the same base motive, and by shifting his appearance into a falcon, he carries the goddess back to Asgard in his talons. Thiazi pursues him desperately in the form of an eagle, but having almost caught up with Loki as he nears his destination, the gods light a fire around the perimeter of their fortress. The flames catch Thiazi and burn him to death. Already at the halls of the gods, both Loki and Idun are safe. Loki only came to the aid of the gods in order to solve a problem that he was responsible for in the first place. Throughout his tales in this theme is repeated, such as in the creation of Thor's hammer and the fortification of Asgard, making him one of the most devilish gods from the Norse mythology. Loki alternatively helps both the gods and the giants, depending on which course of action is most pleasurable and advantageous to him at the time. During Ragnarok, when the gods and giants engage in their ultimate struggle and the cosmos is destroyed, Loki joins the battle on the side of the giants. According to one Old Norse poem, he even captains the ship Nalgfar, Nail Ship, which brings many of the giants to their battle with the gods. When the battle for the world is fought, he and the god Heimdall mortally wound each other. Loki has been around in Marvel Comics lore for a long time, and has even had 2 different origin stories that date back to the 40s. The trickster made his first Marvel Comics appearance in Timely Comics publication Venus number 6 on August 1949, where he was depicted as a member of the Olympian gods exiled to the underworld and had a visual resemblance with the devil. Planning to spread hate, he convinced the king of gods, Jupiter, to let him travel to the realm of Earth. But Venus realized in time what he was trying to accomplish and rushed to warn Jupiter, who subsequently sent Loki back to the underworld. The modern-age Loki made his first official Marvel appearance in Journey into Mystery number 85, back in October 1962, where the god was reintroduced as Thor's sworn enemy. He was created by brothers and co-writers Stan Lee and Larry Lieber, and was redesigned by Jack Kirby. This time, his story goes more like the original one from Norse mythology. Sometime in the past, Odin and his father Bor, the ruler of Asgard, were battling their enemies known as the Frost Giants, when one particular moment Bor falls into the giant's trap and gets turned into snow by a very powerful sorcerer. He begged Odin to find the sorcerer that imprisoned him, but Odin, resentful for his father's aversion to his son's dreams, refuses to do so. Bor, blinded by rage, cursed his own son by saying that he would take the son of a fallen king and raise it as his own. Not a week later, Odin himself killed Loki, who was the king, in personal combat. After slaying Loki, Odin found a small Asgardian-sized child hidden within the stronghold of the Frost Giant. The child was Loki, who was of small stature compared to the normal giant.
Small for a giant's offspring.
Why?
Odin took the child out of the need to appease the memory of his father, and because he was the child of a worthy adversary slain in honorable combat. He was raised alongside Thor as his brother. Throughout his childhood, Loki was resentful of the difference between how Thor and himself were treated by the citizens of Asgard, as they valued great strength, tenacity, and bravery in battle, and Loki was clearly inferior to his brother Thor in those fields. As Loki grew to adulthood, his natural talent for causing mischief earned him the nickname the God of Mischief, even though he was hungry for more power and revenge. In time, his reputation grew from being a playful and mischievous trickster to the God of Evil. In some occasions, Odin imprisoned him within a tree until someone would shed a tear for his plight. He later met the sorcerer Eldred, who taught him black magic, but after he was no longer of use to the god, he killed him by delivering him to the fire demon Surtur. Loki's schemes also included Earth, and often fought with its superhuman heroes to take their planet, as well as Asgard. He first battled Thor on Earth in modern times. After escaping from the tree, Loki then manipulated the Hulk into wreaking havoc using an illusion of dynamite on train tracks while in astral form in an attempt to lure Thor to Earth, which led to the formation of the Avengers as several other heroes came to meet the Hulk. Thor was also one of the founding members of this superhuman team. As an attempt of Loki getting the throne of Asgard, he took the Odin ring. He also attempted to destroy Thor by switching bodies with him, granting him Thor's raw strength, against his own inexperienced use of magic in Thor's hands. Despite Loki's seeming hatred of his adoptive brother and father, he helped to defend Asgard from the destruction of Surtur and his fire demons. Loki sought to only rule it. Alongside Odin and Thor, Loki battled Surtur and witnessed the seeming demise of Odin. So, what do you think about the true origins of Loki? Please don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, and like the video because there are much more coming. Till next time!